In this video, we're going to find the equation of a regression line using Desmos, and that will get us far enough to finish all of IXL Algebra 2 EE.6. So our first example, we're finding the equation for the least squares regression line, and we're given this data. This is a real situation. It's a soccer coach evaluating their defensive players based on the shots on goal and which one how many goals were scored against those defenders, okay? So that's a whole bunch of very specific information, but what's important is that they give us this table to use. They give us 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6 shots on goal by defenders, and then the goal differential. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this table right here, and we're just going to go type it into a table in Desmos. And then Desmos has a little trick that it's going to allow us to get the answers to this regression equation down here at the bottom, what we're trying to solve for. This is going to be a super useful thing, especially if you go on to do anything with statistics, which would be, anything. So if you go to desmos.com, you have a couple choices. We're going to choose to do the graphing calculator. And then we get this graph. We're actually not super interested with the graph. What we're interested in is this plus button. This plus button allows us to insert a table. And in our example, we had a table of information that we needed to put into Desmos. So what we're going to do is we're just going to have exactly what was in our example. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. And then we had -3, -2, -5, 5, and 5. And it does graph those points as ordered pairs, like an x1, y1. 1 and 1 just means that, hey, if we have a second table, these are the ones we're talking about. We're talking about the green dots, and those are the x1 and y1 in this first table. If I create another table, it's going to say, do you mean x2 and y2? So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to say table, and notice that it starts a different one. So it is important that when you're using these, you pay attention to what the little number is there, because if I say see figure 2, then you need to know which one you're looking at. Now, I typed it in, but what I'm trying to get is the least squared regression line, which if you know the slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. Y equals mx plus b is the general equation of a line. I'm going to make a few changes to this, so pay attention. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the y to be y1 and the x to be x1. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put this little squiggly line. This squiggly line is right by the number 1, okay, on your keyboard. And what that is telling me is it says, hey, this isn't necessarily equal to this. We want you to find the line that's the best you can do, the best fit to these dots. So you'll notice that it doesn't actually connect the dots perfectly. And that's why it's not an equal sign. It's that little squiggly to say, hey, get close to connecting the dots. And we have a graph that looks like this. We're given a couple of parameters. The parameters right here are what we're going to use to type into our IXL answer. So you can see that we have a bunch of information underneath the formula that they give us in Desmos. We have statistics. It says R squared and R. It has something that says residuals. It also has parameters, M equals and B equals. For what we're doing in this exercise, we want to focus on what are the M and the B. In other words, it's saying, hey, if it's y equals blank x plus blank, then we're just going to swap in the M and the B. And so you can see what we have right there is 1.892 because it says round to the nearest thousandth, which means 3 decimal places. And then we have -6.054. So if we do that same thing for each one of these problems, what we're going to see is there's not much difference. So I went ahead and typed in the table, and you can see the table matches the one they gave me in the problem. And then we also have the same sort of answers. And so what we have is the M and the B, and I just put those right in the blanks where they asked for them. And let me show you one last example. This is about as complicated as it gets. There's decimals in this one. It's not too scary. And when I type in my table just like it looks, I can see it looks the same. And then I see that my M and my B are perfect to type in. Thank you so much. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.